SAP Project Tools. In this video, you will learn when and how a tool strategy should be developed for your project, as well as we will introduce you to some of the tool options available. The video is divided into the following topics. What is a tool strategy? What is the step for developing a tool strategy for your project? And how and when should a tool strategy be developed? And then we will lastly present some tool options for you, or in blue here, application lifecycle management, which is the suite that we will present the tools under. So let's start looking at what is a tool strategy. So a tool strategy is a strategy for determining tools and utilities for your project implementation. And the purpose of this is to accelerate your project implementation and or to ensure your project can be controlled. Strategy is not a decision. The completed strategy is still to be approved by the project authority, in most cases the project steering committee, where the project sponsor normally heads the steering committee. Bolt-on tools are not recommended to be included in the project tool strategy, as bolt-on tools is utilities or solution packages that provides functionality that SAP does not adequately provide. So here we recommend a separate strategy and focusing on, in your tool strategy, the tools and utilities you need for the project implementation itself, and not any bolt-on or utilities or additional solution packages that you need in order to fulfill the design or realize the design of your solution. So distinguish between those two. The tool strategy in this context is tools required to manage, control, and accelerate your project itself. Bolt-on utilities, solution packages is referring to tools and utilities that you need in order for the solution to work. So the steps for developing your tool strategy, now that we have the definition clear, is 5-step recommendation from our side. 1. Identify the tool categories and option that you want to make use of, or that you believe is relevant for your project setup and where you see that you could benefit from the tool. Then, once you have the categories identified, assess the various tool options that you have. Our recommendation is, like vendor management, make some kind of scoring model. So first sit down and agree on the criteria where you will assess each tool. Then identify gaps in the tool functionality and estimate the effort and alternatives for fulfilling those gaps. So you might have tools that doesn't 100% fit with what you want to do. Then you need to look at the gaps, and will it be possible at all to benefit from implementing the tool, and or what do you need to do for the tool to work on your project. That's what the gap context here is. Then we recommend, where it's possible, that you install and test a subset of the tool. So you select the top candidates and you do a proof of concept where you will install and you will test the tools. And for this we recommend it to do this in a separate task. Don't mix it up with your tool strategy. Complete the tool strategy first on a high level, and then in the strategy specify if and when you're going to do any test pilot of the tools. And a note here is that in many situations it's actually possible to get the vendors come in and do this proof of concept for you. This is an option that you should explore. Then once you have selected whatever tool categories and tool areas you want to have tools implemented to support your project, do also the strategies around the procedures for how to use the tool and develop the procedures itself. So how is this particular tool going to benefit the project? How is it going to be used? How is it not going to be used? What are the limitations? what are the interactions with other parts of your project environment. So those 5 steps is a summary or consolidated recommendation from our side when you do your tool strategy. Now, if you are not sure what the context of a tool or the content of a tool strategy document is, we'll be happy to share a template with you. We don't have one for download now, but we can definitely make one. So please contact us in the forum, and we will be happy to provide more guidance within this area. Now, to answer the question, how and when should a tool strategy be developed? We have tried to map our recommendation to the project phases of an implementation project implementing SAP. So on the top, we have a local implementation project where you remember the phases from previous lessons, and in the bottom here we have the same timeline, just with a global project implementation. So the first steps is the tool strategy, and you can finish the part of the tool strategy document, you can get approval, and if you specify you need a proof of concept, you will start that, and at end or midway in the proof of concept you should have a final tool strategy, and then at some point here you will get the result. Now you'll see overlap, and some might ask, but how can I finish my strategy before I've done the proof of concept, and how can I implement my tool before I've done it? Well, ideally you want them to come one or after each other like pearls on a string, but there is overlap possible to accelerate your implementation here, because the tool strategy should cover all areas where you want to implement additional tools for managing, controlling, and accelerating your project. And a subset of these, you might go into a proof of concept where you have multiple candidates, or where you have areas where you really want to see if this truly will accelerate and it will provide the benefit that you expect the particular tool to do. So the overlap is because there is not expected that you proof of concept every single tool you select in your strategy. So make this a rolling task. So once you have started your tool strategy, if you have some areas approved, you can go to tool implementation. If you want proof of concept, you can do that separately, and it can go up, and you can start implementing as soon as the proof of concept is finished. Important thing on this slide is that you should not have any proof of concepts going beyond in the beginning of your realization phase, because this is where most tools you need to have them ready, because either you need them in the realization phase or you will need them here for testing. So nothing should be planned beyond this point. Then you would have a problem you would create a problem for yourself. And then depending on what the tool is, you will use the tool to the end of your project. So critical is as you do your project preparation or initiate your project, you need the project team. That's where people tend to focus, but don't forget also to assess, do I have all the strategies in place and in this case the tool strategy, because if you do, you need to start immediately the approval and get your proof of concept tool purchasing done. Remember, everyone will be keen on selling you project tools, but in most companies with purchase organizations centralized, you might go through quite a rigid process of doing the purchasing, and it might not be simply going to the website and downloading it. You might need different negotiations, and depending on what the amount is and your organization's procedures for purchasing, this can be a quite cumbersome and lengthy task. So get it started early. Now then let's have a look at some of the tools options. So in the table of content, I mentioned application lifecycle management, and here we have put in from SAP what they provide, and this is the future SAP. So they have a direction or a strategy that they want to, a future strategy that they want to have, not only provide the SAP but also to provide the entire enterprise, an enterprise suite that can help you effectively implement SAP. There's a kind of an enabler, and it's a value proposition why you should select SAP over some of the other alternative ERP solutions. So to get to this, and they are not there yet, they're going through a number of areas which they want to add: change control, test management, solution implementation, and so on. So those innovations that SAP is planning will eventually give you a full enterprise suite, which how it will be bundled with SAP, nobody knows. But it's worth knowing before we start looking at other external tools, because you might see this and say, well, why should I invest in something now or start implementing something that will require separate skills, training, investment, so on, when SAP eventually will provide all of this? And that's a good question, and the answer is not here, as this is because this is a future direction. But we put the charts in, and it is something that you need to consider. You already now should know how to log on to the SAP Service Marketplace, and there you can follow how far SAP are in this innovation that they want to do. So assuming SAP do not have the end goal in place as of now, let's look at some of the other options and suppliers available. And again, this is a recent overview that was also provided by SAP to cover the interim period before they are capable of providing the full suite. So this picture has changed a lot since I started doing SAP in the 97. There's been a lot more IBM and HP on this slide, where aggressive acquisition strategies from both IBM and HP have really consolidated the market and the suppliers for some of the enterprise tools. But we have a number of different areas here. So architecture management, especially if you have a large IT integration in scope, then that can be beneficial. Enterprise modeling, you can go from Visio in one end to IBM and to to best of breed tools. Test automation, there's a number of options available. The most popular one has been integrated into IBM and HP through acquisition. So explore with them if it's testing you wanna get automated. Test management, again, Rational is under IBM and HP has offerings. Infrastructure change management, IBM is mentioned here. There's other tools out there that provides that on an enterprise level. Automation, monitoring, scheduling, there's a number of different tools, and you see here that some has been certified to work well with SAP, some is still available but hasn't been ICC certified. Now that said, often you might not need external big enterprise tools. Depending on your project size and the complexity and the team you have in place, you might actually address some of the key areas around data conversion, test automation, and education simply by using the SAP utilities that is available to you. The SAP LSMW loading program, perhaps supplemented with some ABAP, small ABAP development program. We don't have that here, so we can put ABAP here. SAP ECAT is a test automation or recorder playing a tool that can record transactions and play them back. That might in many cases be sufficient. And again, for education, if you want e-learning, you might actually be able to use the SAP Tutor tool, which is available to you from SAP. Now, that's one option. The other option is to go with the enterprise tools. And this picture of the enterprise tools change every day. Acquisition, mergers, new vendors arising. So to guide you in this, we really need to have a discussion with you about what your specific needs are. But then we will be happy to, and as always, we have the forum for that purpose. Going forward, let's just have a look on a component that's often placed as a central component in your SAP, and which SAP really wants to market, and that's the SAP Solution Manager. So the SAP Solution Manager has evolved and is still evolving, and actually SAP is trying to bundle everything together to allow the Solution Manager to follow the full SAP project implementation, from requirements to design, build and test, to deploy it, operate it after go live, and then later on optimize it through early watch reports and other assessments of how to tune your solution. So this one provides a good life cycle. Now, my experience is that most people do not use SAP Solution Manager as much as SAP would like them to. So again, it comes down to what is your requirement. But in this case, this is a component that SAP makes available to you, and I would recommend to explore if you can get some free assistance from SAP setting this up, if you then in return becomes a user of the full Solution Manager, which would give them valuable insight in improving it. With that said, I hope this video have fulfill the objective of giving you a good understanding of what is a tool strategy, what are the steps that you need to do in order to developing a tool strategy, how and when should you develop your tool strategy, and as well some tools options both from the SAP application lifecycle management point of view, future direction, external tools. And as always, we will be happy to go into much more detail with you in the forum, guide you, mentor you in how this can be done in practical.